Kirtan is our main process of chanting. Most of you probably know that already since none of you raised your hands the first time. And today we're going to be talking about how is it that we actually get an experience in spirituality. So, most of us, at least speaking for myself, we're running around and exploring many things in the material world, looking for many things to give me an experience. And as I began to search continuously, I found more and more that the experiences I was getting from the material things in the world were very dissatisfactory. They'd bring pleasure. It comes and it goes. But I found as I continued to look, it became more and more clear that I wasn't going to find it here. And so then as I was in college, I was studying psychology, I was studying neuroscience, I was trying to connect what this reality is. I'm sure some of you are feeling that way also. I'm sure all of you have your reasons for being here. You have some sort of inquisitiveness into spiritual life, some sort of feeling that there's something beyond this world, there's something beyond our mind, there's something beyond what society is telling us is actually going to bring us an experience, a real experience, something that's actually satisfactory to the heart. So I began to turn to ancient texts. And as I began to turn to ancient texts, I found more answers within a couple of months than I did my entire years of life. And it wasn't out of logical convincing. It didn't come from someone telling me or convincing me that one scripture was better than the other. It came from experience, and it came from feeling. And a lot of the times when we approach the spiritual path, it's like we're running to something, and we're running away from whatever it is we see going on here, because we know that it's not giving us happiness, and then we're jumping and we don't know how to grab it. It's kind of like we're in this medium where we're trying to get a grasp on this reality, but we're struggling to actually experience that reality. And I found that for myself. And what I've noticed many times when people come into a spiritual practice is that the feeling and the sincerity is there. And the desire to want to dive deeper is there. But then it somehow gets lost, and somehow we find ourselves getting into forms of ritual, getting into forms of mechanical practice. Even as monks, we do things on a daily basis that seem mechanical externally. So what I wanted to speak about today is a process that's very practical and a process that's very easy to apply in your daily lives. So before I go further, does anyone want to raise their hand and just say why you're coming here or why you feel inspired to come here? You want to say something?
Me?
Yeah?
Okay. I feel like my life is falling apart and I need help.
Mm.
So that's like... Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Many people hear that and they think, oh, poor guy.
Mine too.
But this is a very beautiful thing, actually, because you're utilizing your intelligence to turn to something that, okay, there has to be something deeper. Most people kind of stop at that point, and then there's a wonderful story, actually. One of our ancient teachers tells us, and it's a story about a carnival. And so the carnival is just this one big tent, and it's blocked off, so everyone can only go in one person at a time. So one person is the first one in line. He goes in, and a bunch of, "Hey, please come in." And he walks in, and actually what the circus is, he just gets beaten up by a bunch of people. They just totally wail on him, like nonstop, punches, elbows, you name it, anything you can think of, the RKO, anything that comes. And so the person comes out, and he's thinking about everybody else that's in the line. And the person asks him, "How did it go?" He said, "Oh, it was great." So the next person walks in, and the cycle continues. And this is the process of material life. It's a constant, when we find ourselves operating within the material world without something to get an experience with in spiritual life, we find it just beats us down. I can say it for myself. You're saying it out of your experience. So it's a very beautiful thing when that's happening and we utilize our consciousness to say, okay, I need help. This is a very beautiful thing, so thank you for sharing that. Thank you. What was your name? I'm so sorry. Alex. So nice to meet you. Narada. Anyone else? Thoughts? What's your name?
Gigi.
Gigi.
Yep.
It's nice to meet you, Gigi.
Nice to meet you.
You have any thoughts you want to share?
I'm just here to be with God.
That's a good reason. That's why I'm here too. So yes, one of my teachers that I take guidance from once gave me a wonderful example on how to practically experience spiritual life. And as I said, we kind of come into this medium ground where we're done with material experiences, or at least we're feeling like this is, okay, I need something else. And then we're kind of in the process of making a leap into that spiritual experience. So my spiritual teacher says that there are no holes in spiritual science. So sometimes you find in material science, modern science, there's gaps. There's things that are missing. They have certain ways of approaching their research that aren't necessarily completely reliable, you could say. But within the spiritual science, it's completely, it's filled. There's no holes in between. And he gives an acronym into what holes means. And this is the entire process that I'm going to discuss about hearing and experiencing spiritual life and spiritual reality. So it's an acronym. So we have H. So H-O-L-E-S, this is holes. So imagine I'm writing it on a chalkboard or a dry erase board. So the first starts with hearing. So just like, let's say we want to go to Japan. I first hear about Japan. I ask someone to tell me about what Japan is like. What are the people like there? What's their culture? What do they eat? What do they do? How can I fit into that culture? So similarly, in spiritual life, we begin to hear about things because, as we're saying, we need help. We need guidance. And so, fortunately for us, there are actually people that exist in this world that are completely, you could say, self-realized. This means that they're completely experiencing and realizing their spiritual form, which is simply animating the body. They're totally detached from the bodily concept of life. It's incredible. An amazing thing to think about. And when we hear from these kinds of personalities about the reality of the world, about the reality of our existence, it's actually said that their consciousness spreads into our heart. So think of it like, like COVID, or like some type of contagion or illness. You come close to somebody that has that, any type of contagious sickness, it's possible that you can contract that sickness. It's possible that you can contract that virus. So similarly, if you flip it on the positive side, when you're around these people that are so absorbed in spiritual consciousness, they're so absorbed in pure love of the heart, that it actually mystically spreads into your heart itself. And the more you spend time with these personalities, you actually begin to look around and connect and see the love that they're having and apply it in your own life. And this is what leads to the second acronym, which is O, and that's to observe. So one of the ancient books we study is called the Bhagavad Gita. You're all familiar with the Bhagavad Gita? Yeah? So the Bhagavad Gita is like you could say, an owner's manual to spiritual life. And so there are some things in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is speaking, the divine personality of the absolute truth, that we are actually capable of applying and observing in our lives. So I remember, for example, when I was first reading the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and then I was relating it to a picture that was within that book. And it said in Sanskrit, Dehinosmin yata dehe komanam yovanam jara. So Krishna is saying, just as the embodied soul, Dehinosmin yata dehe komanam yovanam jara, he's changing from childhood to youth to old age. Tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuhyati, Krishna says. That person is actually the same personality that's changing bodies within that body. And a person who's realized, dhira, that's a beautiful Sanskrit word, dhira, can mean fixed, realized, sober, grave, in their consciousness, can actually realize and not become bewildered by such a change. And I remember I was in college, and I walked out of my house, and I saw a child, a mother, and a grandfather, all walking. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. Each of these personalities are three individual spiritual entities that are all experiencing different phases of life. It's incredible. It's incredible to see. The most basic analogies you can think of, the most basic knowledge, even in spiritual life, can become so profound. So we learn to observe things. We learn to see how it is that hearing about this spiritual knowledge, what is it actually benefiting me? Like, okay, I'm sitting here and someone's giving a class and I'm hearing some type of philosophy and, okay, it sounds nice. But the reality is it's meant to penetrate the heart so we can begin to observe these things. Another example, Krishna says in the 5th chapter, it's a beautiful verse also. Yehi samsparshaja boga dukha yone evate. Krishna is saying that the intelligent person, he sees that the happiness and the distress that comes from existing in the material world is simply coming and going. So even the pleasures, he says, the pleasures that are existing. What's your favorite food?
Me?
Yeah, what's your favorite food? Gulab jamans. Okay, so gulab jamans are these like milk powder, sugar, and flour, and butter. It's a very traditional Indian sweet, and you roll it in a ball, and you fry it in ghee or oil or butter, and then you soak it in rose water sugar syrup, and you let it soak up completely so much that it becomes succulent and savory and sweet. Yeah. So how many of those can you eat?
At a time?
Yeah.
3 to 5.
Nityananda Chandra seems like he has a.
I think I did 11 or 15.
Or
Loved
15.
Eating contest, but then
Wow.
I saw stars and I puked.
Okay, so he ate 15 gulab jamans and then he puked. Gulab jaman. Tomato. Whatever floats your boat. Whatever makes you feel good. So anyways, we find that the pleasures in the material world, they can't actually sustain what we're looking for. So I can only eat so many gulab jamans, and then I actually get sick and I get upset. So you see stars, you puke, and then you're lying on the floor wondering, what have I done with myself? Or alcohol. Alcohol is a good example also. I have many experiences before I became a monk of thinking to myself, what did I do to myself? What have I done? Now look at me, I'm looking in the mirror, look at myself, I'm feeling so terrible, have regrets. So this is the pleasure in the material world.
I ate one piece of cake yesterday after the pizza party,
Mm.
and that's how I felt.
Even one piece, just one piece of cake. What have I done? So Krishna then further says, don't tell him that yet. So Krishna is saying the intelligent person, he sees beyond those things, he's thinking, wow, my mind is thinking, yes, eat 15 gulab jamans, do it. Oh, it's going to be so good. And then afterwards you experience it and you say, no, that was not good. That was a bad idea. So then the intelligence also works in that way. As we begin to hear, we begin to observe different things in material reality. And we see how these spiritual scriptures that have been tested, tried and true by sages for hundreds and thousands of years. Hundreds and thousands of years. I have like a scientific mindset, and I tell people when I meet people, like for example at NYU, this is actually the most reliable and valid experiment that you can try. So reliability in an experiment means how often is it executed and you get the same result. So this is considered the most reliable experiment that you can do because hundreds and thousands and millions of souls have done this process and have actually experienced it and have experienced the pinnacle of this practice. Excuse me. So another example that we begin to hear about these things within books, within ancient scriptures, from saintly and pure loving personalities, and we begin to observe these things in the world. And then we think, oh my God, these people are right. This guy's right. You know, this book is really saying something that's very parallel to what I'm observing in the material world. Okay, I'll give one more example, and then I'll stop. We'll move on. Because I'm thinking of another verse. In the 16th chapter, Krishna discusses about what's called demoniac consciousness. And it's not like what we think, like, someone with horns. It's not like the Judeo or, Western conception of demoniac. Demoniac mentality in Sanskrit means asura. And it means pretty much one who's self-centered. One who's centered on their false ego and their own false identifications and trying to gratify those things. So Krishna says that those kinds of people, they thrive off of the material identities of what they're doing, and they simply take pride in that. So even someone, for example, someone who has a position, or someone who has power or fame or wealth, these things, or they're attractive, they have a lot of attraction, that they're womanizers, whatever it is, vice versa. They take pride in these things, and ultimately they thrive on taking advantage and exploiting the material realm. And I remember I spent so much time of my life before really diving into spiritual life, looking into what people nowadays would call like conspiracy theories, but really just like looking into truth. What is it that constitutes truth, and how are people actually operating? And I began to see, wow, there's a lot of people that really actually don't care about society, and they're in positions of power. They're in famous positions. They have wealth. And I remember I was so frustrated. I was so upset. I couldn't do anything about this. And I remember reading this in the Bhagavad Gita also and just thinking, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been feeling, and I had no idea how to put it in words. So again and again and again, I found myself when I was studying these scriptures just being totally blown away at how a scripture thousands and thousands and thousands of years old had it down to a T. Perfect. Such a perfect understanding of reality. And so then what I realized was, wow, okay, so I'm seeing this thing, so what is next? So now it's time for me to actually try the experiment. So now we have hearing, we've heard about these things, it's very interesting, it's very attractive, it's entering into our heart if we allow it to. We're beginning to observe it, we're kind of starting to connect the dots a little bit. And once that starts to happen, we begin to feel the desire to live this. Now, when I say living this, it's not a sectarian idea. It's not that you have to live it in the way that you're going to wear robes like I am, you're going to put tilak, sacred paintings on the body like I am. The practice starts living it both internally and externally. A process of treating others nicely externally, respecting others, taking up a spiritual practice, and internally developing a deep sincerity to actually understand how is it that these people achieved this experiment. So we're hearing, we're observing, and now it's coming to the point of living. You want to say something? Okay. So through living this experience, for us, for example, we chant what's called the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Now, of course, there's a lot of things as monks that we do every day. That's also a part of our process of living. But our process is this process of chanting. And so these ancient scriptures, as I was discussing, that I've had such a down-pat understanding of reality, it's just mind-blowing, tell us that actually in different cycles of consciousness within the earthly dimension, there's different ways that are most effective for the consciousness of human society to progress. And so they say that this process of chanting is actually that process that is able to cleanse the heart most effectively. So it's not that we have blind faith. It's not that we say, okay, I'm going to do it and just... waiting for something to happen. No, it requires us to live what we're learning about. It requires us to actually practice these things internally and externally. And on a practical basis, that can look first just by starting to chant. But as you dive deeper into your experience of living, we find that we're not getting to that platform of experiencing something deeper. And so, I keep thinking of more verses from the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna discusses in the 2nd chapter that when one is working hard to, let's say, develop spiritual consciousness, but is operating within a material plane still, the, you could say, attachments to eating gulab jamuns, eating 15 gulab jamuns, or eating that extra piece of cake, or drinking more alcohol, or whatever material pleasure we're looking for, that taste still remains. So Krishna says a beautiful thing. He says, but by experiencing a higher taste, he naturally loses taste for the eating the 15 gulab jamuns. Naturally, it's a natural process. And I always use the example because I'm in New York, and I ask some people sometimes, okay, what's your favorite pizza joint? And they'll say, okay, I don't know, Big Al's Pizza or something. Or what's something more Italian? I don't know. Romeo's Pizza. It's just a random name. Oh, really? Okay, there you go. Okay. Okay, that's super Italian. That's good. Okay, so this is a good pizza joint. Now, what if I were to tell you that actually I've tasted that pizza and it's actually not very good? You would sit here and you'd say you're out of your mind and you have no taste for pizza.
You're not from New York.
I'm not from New York, no, but I was always a pizza fiend. So we could argue how the crust is made, how the cheese is put on top, what they use in the sauce. What do they put in it? Is it brick-fired oven? Do they put wood chips in it? Is it wood-fired? How do they cook it? What temperature are they cooking it at? We could have so many debates. But the reality is I haven't finished. I'm saying, actually, no, I went to this pizza place for a long time, and I got a lot of satisfaction from it. But actually, a couple blocks down, there's this other pizza joint. And I tried that pizza, and it totally changed my life. It totally changed my life. And now I have no desire to eat this pizza at, what's it called? The Faro's. Okay. I have no desire to eat there anymore because this other pizza is just so good. It's so intoxicating. So similarly, we have to learn how to get intoxicated in spiritual existence and spiritual reality. One way or the other, it has to happen, actually. Because the nature of the soul is that we're sat, we're eternal. There's not a time when we haven't existed. These bodies are just temporary. And because of the heavy material identifications and the coverings, we forget that we're eternal. Then we're chit. We're full of consciousness. Our knowledge is ever expanding, it's ever growing, and we're full of ananda, we're full of bliss. So we're ever increasingly seeking that bliss and expanding our knowledge and consciousness. It's happening on an eternal platform. So that bliss, this whole process is about getting to the E aspect of wholes, which is experience. And so this is where most of the problem rests. Getting from living, I've been hearing about this, I'm observing it, this makes sense, this is working, something's happening, I'm feeling confident that I can try this. So we start living it, we start doing it on a daily basis, and then all of a sudden, we start going round and round, mechanical, running in circles, trying to chant, trying to develop a deeper spiritual consciousness, trying to serve selflessly. Why am I not getting this experience? Why am I not getting this experience? So it's said that it requires two things. There's a wonderful whole story that inclines these two things and that describes these two things, but I'm just going to stick with the basics for now because otherwise I'll speak for a long time. It requires endeavor and it requires reciprocation. Endeavor and reciprocation. There's two things. The problem is most of the time we just rely on reciprocation. We just think, okay, I'm going through the motions, I'm doing these things, it will happen. But it requires a deep, intense endeavor within the heart and the consciousness to actually fix our mind on what we're doing. And so the essence of the Bhagavad Gita is not actually about the external activity that you're doing. It's not necessarily about the external job you have or the external number of times you chant something or the external amount of verses that you know or that you study. It's actually about the consciousness that you're using and endeavoring in while you're doing these things. And that consciousness, through the process of spiritual practice, becomes refined. It's like if I had a golden or a beautiful jewel. What's the most beautiful jewel you can think of? Anyone? Sapphire. It's a very beautiful jewel. Sapphire. So imagine that sapphire is covered with dirt and mud and even rocks or corals, and it's very difficult to see that sapphire. And so the process begins as we start to cleanse that. We begin to see things. And we begin to actually experience what that sapphire is like. So in a similar way, as we begin to live this process, we have to make an endeavor. And this is so beautiful about the Absolute Truth, is that the Absolute Truth has its capability of revealing itself to you, or not revealing itself to you. It's amazing to think of, actually. It's amazing. So as we begin to continue to endeavor and we're living, we develop a deep sincerity within the heart. And we find that the problem is I'm lacking love. I'm lacking selfless love in my heart to desire and reciprocate and serve the Absolute Truth completely. At least speaking for myself, I find, since I've been a practicing monk for about 4 or 5 years, it's amazing how many things are deeply embedded in my subconscious. And as you begin to endeavor more and more and more and more, you find that more things start popping up that are getting in the way of you loving purely and serving this wonderful Absolute Truth. So then comes the problem, okay, now I've been endeavoring so much, I've been putting in so much of my heart and effort, why am I not getting reciprocation? And it's actually a very surprising answer. And our teacher describes it as desire. He says we get embedded by material consciousness with desire. And we come out of material consciousness with desire. So as we begin to progress, we're doing the practice, we're even doing externally more things, we have to understand what the goal of life is. And when the goal of life is very clear, then the desire can become very strong.
Spiritual desire.
Of course, spiritual desire. I can clarify that also because a lot of the times in spiritual life we think we have to be desireless. And it's actually described in our scriptures that these self-realized souls are desireless. But what they refer to as desireless is that they don't have material desires. They simply have spiritual desires to love and serve. And so this is the essence of what leads us into experiencing. For example, let's say Shrikar he wants some cookies from me. He says, I want some cookies. Like, can you, I don't know, like maybe one, I don't know, like, could you do that? Like, be nice if like you could just like give me a cookie. I don't know, whatever. But if Nityananda Chandra comes up and says, I need that cookie. Are you going to give me that cookie? Are you going to give me that? I need it. I need that cookie. Please, please. I really want this cookie. Please help me. Please. I need this cookie. I'm much more inclined to say, okay, all right. Okay, I'll give you the cookie. So this is a similar thing as we're approaching this absolute truth. We have to cultivate a sincere desire within the heart. It's not material, it's spiritual. To actually experience and reciprocate and love and serve that absolute truth, which we call Krishna. And then the experience comes. And that experience is completely beyond any conception that the mind can think of. This is what's so wonderful about being in the human form of life, is that you can actually experience something that's completely beyond your senses. That's completely beyond the body. It's completely beyond what your perception is actually capable of seeing in this reality. And when you experience those things, this love that is so immaculate, it's so beautiful. The feelings that you experience from this love is unlike anything that you'll ever taste in this material world. And I guarantee you this. I can give you a guarantee. Because it's unlike anything you've ever experienced before. So when we're chanting, when we're doing kirtan together, this is an opportunity to reach out to that and touch that absolute truth that we're actually a part of. And we get to experience that love and experience these feelings that are completely beyond the emotions of the material body, completely beyond the feelings of the subtle body. It's actually our nature. It's where we belong. It's like the first time you're a fish out of water and you jump into the water. It's like, oh. It's amazing. It's incredible. And once we experience this love, we come out of that experience. Some very advanced souls actually just stay there. They don't come down. I will be honest with you, I'm not one of those people. But when you experience that love and that purity of existence, is actually the nature and essence of who you are, it's so intoxicating. It's so intoxicating. And when you come out of that, it's like, oh, I want more of that. And this is the process of developing a higher taste. This is the process of continuously going to the other pizza shop. And as we progress in that consciousness and as we get more and more experiences, the cup within our heart becomes filled and filled and filled. And actually what happens is it becomes so filled that we don't know what to do with it. So then comes the last part of holes, Hare Krishna, which is S, and that is sharing. Now this sharing is not out of a evangelist mentality, right? It's sometimes we think of sharing like, oh, like condemning and telling people that you should follow this way, but no, it's coming out of the desire to say, this is so lovely, and if you want to experience it, I'm offering it to you. You don't have to do it. I'm not forcing anybody. But this experience is so beautiful and so lovely. I beg you to please try it. And as we share, we get another amazing realization that in spiritual life, in spiritual consciousness, the more we give, actually the more we receive in return. And this is our actual existence eternally in the spiritual realm. It's a constant reciprocation of love that goes on ever-ending, ever-ending. It doesn't stop. A constant give and take. And the more we become absorbed in that consciousness, life becomes so incredibly beautiful. all of the problems we experience, all of the relationships that we have, all of the so-called identifications that we have, all of them sort of seem to shed their material identity. And within it blossoms this wonderful vision of reality. And that reality is what I'm speaking of, this pure loving consciousness and seeing that connection within everything. So that was the basis of what I wanted to discuss. How we can actually deeply experience that is through desire. We have to desire to do these things. And it's not a material thing, because it's like just like going to the gym. In one sense, you're trying to get in shape, so you have to endeavor, but it's going to be difficult to keep doing that without a fueling motivation. So, to tie everything in, one might be wondering, what is the desire actually meant for? And this desire culminates in the desire to want to know one's eternal spiritual identity and one's eternal spiritual existence. And as we begin to hear and observe and live the process and even get tastes of experience in sharing, that desire becomes more stronger. It becomes more and more specific. So this is what I wanted to speak of. If anybody has any comments or like thoughts to share, I'd love to hear your realizations. So thank you for your time, please.
Yeah. So I felt two extremes today. There was, thank you again so much for, this is my first time here.
Welcome. It's very nice to have you.
And I had such a release that I was really trying to control, but couldn't. It just came out. And a part of me wanted to be able to control it, but a part of me really wanted to let it go. So I felt that love and just freeing myself. But then I got stopped by, people saying, oh, when it gets some water, come out, you're disturbing the class, this is not good. And this is what I felt in my life. Like, I'm doing my thing, I'm authentic, and people don't seem to like it, I'm bothering them, it's disturbing them, so therefore, you have to go. So, I experienced that again tonight. I'm like, this is my life, this is what I've been experiencing. Love, in the beginning, and then thrown out down the line. The attachment. And like, why does this keep happening to me?
So as we spoke about, these bodies aren't who we are, right? And this is a wonderful question, actually, because it ties into the idea of why is it that good things happen to bad people, and why do bad things happen to good people? So in life, when we're trying to develop love and other things keep pulling us back, it's a form of a test to see how sincere we are in our life, to push through these challenges. And so when we have these deep attachments and things that pull us away, as you were saying, these attachments, it's difficult. And I can say for myself also, I've gone through the same thing, So as we develop more and more consciousness of love and realization of our nature, the things that are trying to pull us back in life can actually seem to instead motivate us more to progress. Does this make sense?
I agree.
Yeah. But you'll find also as you become deeper, the heart becomes more open and it's able to hold a lot more. So a lot of the times in spiritual life in the beginning, it's difficult to sometimes control the things that we're feeling and we're experiencing There's actually a wonderful story about this. One of our most renowned teachers, his name's Rupa Goswami, and he was so absorbed in spiritual life. And there was one time when him and a lot of other great sages and teachers were discussing these ancient scriptures and of specific parts of the scripture that were full of spiritual experiences and emotions. And a lot of even the most advanced souls around him, they couldn't control it. It was so deep, the love that they were experiencing was so profound that they couldn't control what they were experiencing. And they looked at Rupa Goswami, and Rupa Goswami was just like this and listening. And they were all so confused because they were thinking, this person is the most advanced out of all of us. But he's not, how are these spiritual ecstasies not manifesting within him? And so it appeared as if he was in samadhi, which is total trance. And so one of our other sages that are in our line, they took a piece of cotton to test if he was breathing, and they put it under his nose, and it immediately caught on fire. This piece of cotton caught on fire. So the depth of feelings that he was experiencing in his heart were so powerful. So powerful. But externally, it wasn't appearing like he was experiencing anything. And this is the beauty of the humility of a spiritualist. The most advanced spiritualists, they learn to contain these things. And then they learn to share it and give it in a way where other people can receive it properly. Because it's confusing sometimes. It's confusing. So, yeah, it's about holding it in and learning how to actually keep that and be able to share it in a way that showers other people with that love that's digestible. Does that help? Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I kind of want to say something. So, like I said earlier, I feel like my life has been falling apart, and I think that I know I've been praying for a change for a while, and I think that it's really happening. But
Beautiful.
I want to be able to step into what I want to create, and I feel like that's why everything's happening. And I've been doing a lot of like spiritual practice and stuff in different ways. And I have other options coming at me that I don't want. And I feel like everything that's been happening, not everything, but a lot of things in my life are just like, I'm like, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want that, and I know what I want, and I'm starting to put some energy into creating that, but it takes a lot of faith, and I want to know if you have any advice on me stepping into what I want, and creating what I want, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the doubt and the fear is so overwhelming, and the anxiety, and just me going to bed at night and just feeling so many things, you know. So I don't know if you.
Yeah.
I hope that's not a lot.
No. It's very.
Share.
It's very. Thank you. It's really beautiful you're sharing that.
Yeah.
It's a nature of, you know how horses, when they're doing horse races, they put blinders on them? Similarly, when we cultivate a desire to create something that we want in our life, we have to learn to put blinders on. And it's not in a way that's like neglecting other things or other people, like in like a negative way, but we have to know what's best for ourselves. And so sometimes it's association that you have. Sometimes it's maybe spending time on your phone. These are just examples, you know.
Right.
And my best advice is to be around the people that are actually going to inspire you to create that reality that you want. Because otherwise, you're going to have constant things that are happening, you know. And you're talking about, like, you've been getting into different spiritual practices and things like that, and, like, that's really, really good. Another advice I have for that is, I'll share it through another example. that there's a story about a man who was digging for diamonds. And he kept digging in different places, but he kept stopping and going to another place to look for this place and dig there, and then kind of gave up. This isn't happening. I'm going to go dig somewhere else. And he kept digging in all these different places, but he wasn't digging deep enough, and so he never ended up getting any diamonds. And there was another guy who was in the same place as him, and he was, when they first started, and he was digging that place the entire time, and eventually he hit the jackpot. So the example is meant to show that also sometimes many spiritual practices and ideas are wonderful because it contributes to that. But when we actually focus on one that we find is giving us nourishment and we dig deep into that, it allows us to experience that deeper. It seems like you have something else to add.
Yeah, but so I don't mean like with different like religions and ideologies. I mean like a lot of meditation.
Okay.
And
Wonderful.
Like, yeah, like yoga and like different things like that. Like really meditating a lot.
Mm.
So that's what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do some religious things too. But I feel like that's not the thing. It's like
No, the essence is.
I've been really meditating a lot. I got like a membership at this float spa, so it's like it forces me to meditate. So
That's good.
That's what I mean too. It's like,
Okay, nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
I think the basis in terms of creating the things that you want, you have to be in the right surroundings, you know? Like a seed grows best in fertile soil, you know? And so it's like, as you're kind of like, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, other opportunities and things are coming up and distracting you. That's your personal thing. But try to apply that in what you're thinking. Like, how is it, and association doesn't necessarily mean just like the people that you're with. Like, it's about all the things that you're doing in your daily life that are contributing to your consciousness and what your consciousness is being absorbed in. And, you know, like, I mean, believe me, on a daily basis, I have so many things coming at me.
I feel like everything is pushing me to just go for what I really want, you know? Like, it's a long story though.
So the,
Really complicated.
yeah, jump. It's like a diving board. It's like a diving board. You know, like when you're a kid and you want to like, you're ready, you're like so excited to jump off the diving board, and then you run and you're like, whoa, those doubts and that fear gets there. And so there's no other way than to just jump. It sounds kind of short-sighted in a sense, but it's very simple. It's very simple. You just have to take the jump.
Thank you, sorry.
No, this is beautiful. It's beautiful. I hope that helps at least a little bit. Yeah. Well, thank you. Okay. I think we're on to the next part of our program.
Thank you everyone for coming here. Om Tat Sat, thanks a lot.
Om Tat
Hare
Sat.
Krishna.
Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna.
Yay. Haribo.
So now we have,
We'll skip the secretary time.
Yeah.
Let's go right to the prasadam.
this is spiritual conscious food.
Nice applause.
No, no, no.
There we go.